Hi, welcome back to Sail Juice. Tonight's guest is recently crowned North American Championships that was held in Burlington, Ontario, my neck of the woods, and we're going to get a chance to talk to him and see how he made out so well. First of all, some introductions. My name is Mike Madge. I'm the host here, coming in from Thunder Bay, Ontario, and coming to me from Houston, Texas is Bruce Mahoney. So welcome to the show, Bruce.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So how you doing?
Yeah, all good. All good. Yeah, we just had our first cold front of the year come through. So it's 70 instead of 90 here. So we're practically freezing. But how's Thunder Bay?
A little cooler than that. Let's put it that way. A little cooler than that. So I'm excited to talk to you because this has a little bit of excitement for me also because I happen to be at this event. It was my first ACAT event, and I wanted to get your impressions of it from the pointy end of the fleet to get your perspective on it. So maybe before we get into the event itself, like how long have you been involved with the class, and how did you get started in it?
Yeah, I sailed. I think the first ACAT I sailed was Johnny Lovell's ACAT in 2006, and there was a fleet here in Houston, and I'd been out of college for a few years and had a chance to go sail his on they let me have the keys to the car on a light air day. It was 7 knots and pretty flat water. And I got fly a hull upwind, and I hadn't done any catamaran sailing at that point in my life. And it was just amazing to feel how silent everything got when you would fly the windward hull. And it was just a slippery, super slippery ride upwind, and just standing there, just going 10 or 11 knots or whatever, going, man, this is unbelievable. And that stayed with me for a bunch of years until 2012. I finally had some time for myself to kind of get my own boat and get sailing again after a number of years working in California. And so I joined the class in 2012, and right in January down at the Islander in Islamorada, Florida, with all the guys, met all the crazies that are in the fleet, and it was super fun. And yeah, I haven't really looked back since. Went and did some European championships that first year and got my butt kicked and learned how to sail a catamaran the hard way. So yeah, it's been awesome.
I mean, this isn't your first success in the ACAT. I mean, how many North Americans do you have under your belt now?
Yeah, I got this was number 6, which is cool. I've been kind of having a good run here. COVID, slowed everybody down for a while. We missed a year in there. I think the only other year missing on the trophy, which I believe I need to add it up again, but maybe it's 55th year or something like that for the ACAT North Americans. And the only other one, there was a 1992 winner, is Hurricane Andrew. And I guess in 2020, we need to put COVID on there or something. Yeah. There's only 2 years it hasn't been held in 50 some odd years. So it's quite cool.
Yeah. And you've won, you said, 6 of them now?
Yeah, I've got 6, and there's a gentleman on there I don't know. It's Rob Beedling, I think, was in the 80s. He's got 7, so be trying to chase that if the young whippersnappers will let me. With Ravi and the young bucks in the fleet are coming in on fire, so it'll be hard to get another one. But they're all special in their own way. It's been super cool traveling around with everybody, and yeah, a lot of fun.
And have all of them won on foiling boats or?
Yeah, no, not the first one. So my 2012 boat when I started was a seaboarded straight rudder boat, and had a whole lot of crashes the first year of getting Captain Capsize nickname from my buddies, and just going over the handlebars every year. We didn't have any elevators on the rudders, so you'd get the boat a little bit flighty on the seaboards around the top mark usually, and then stuff it in super hard and go over the front. So I got really good at riding the boat the first year and learned how to sail catamarans, and then the first year I won was 2014, and I had a J-boarded boat, which is like the very early foiling boat where there were straight shafts with the dagger boards and just had a little bit of a cup at the bottom with a little tip. So all the lifting surface was at the bottom, and it was very hard. They were very stiff. It was very hard to get the boat to foil. And when it did, all the lift was at the bottom. So she kept going up and up and up until you were in the air completely. And then she would sidestep and end with a spectacular crash usually. So trying to manage the height of that boat was a big deal. And so that 2014 first one was really a skimming year more than a foiling year, I would call it. And then my next one was, I think, 2017, I think, was in a foiling boat. So.
And you've also had some success at World's events too, haven't you?
Yeah. I've done every world since 2012. So I guess I did, I've been to New Zealand and the Netherlands and Poland and Australia, here in the US twice. I'm probably leaving something out. Italy. Yeah, it's been really good. I think my first year I was like, I don't know, 18th or something or 20th, whatever. And then I think I've been top 10 the last 8 times, but never better than six. So I'm in that 6 to 10 spot. Sadly, I'm stuck. I can't seem to chase the
But
likes of the guys just in front of me. So
but going over the results, you have won some individual races at Worlds.
yes, yeah, I've got a couple now, two or three. It was neat to join the club, and there's kind of a cool the guys I sail with that are in my little part of the fleet that are maybe not the top five, but the next five down. It's I know PJ and a couple of the other guys have got a few race wins in there as well, and Bob Hodges got one here this year. It's quite cool. It's something you remember for sure when you
I would
finally
think
hit the
so.
finish line, and it's usually close when you get there, so it's quite cool.
And I guess, like, from memory or going back over records, I think Pete Melvin is the only North American that has actually won a world championships in A's, isn't he?
Until this year, until Ravi Parent won here in Houston. So
Oh,
yeah, I
exactly.
think he would
Yeah.
be the second American. I haven't looked way back in the early days, but I'm not sure the World's Trophy is even as old as the North American's Trophy, which goes back over 50 years. I think it might be 53 years now, something like that. So quite an old class in North America. So that's really cool to be a part of that. So.
Okay, I'm just getting a message here that I've got 10 more minutes with you on my Zoom, so I'm going to have to hurry things along here. I really want to concentrate on this North Americans here. I was at it. I want to get your perspective of it. I would have to think it was almost perfect foiling conditions for 3 out of the 4 days, the venue.
Yeah, super cool there in Burlington. It was flat water. Most of the time was offshore winds, so super flat, and had an awesome first day training up there. We drove up on a Thursday, Friday. It was 24-hour drive for us, and I forget, it was something like that for you, wasn't it, from Thunder Bay?
Yeah, pretty close, about 17. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people came a long way, but it was totally worth it. The city was great. The club there was awesome, and the sailing was fantastic. Like flat water, freshwater, which is cool. I hadn't sailed in a freshwater lake in quite some time, or freshwater period. So yeah, it was awesome. We got a great first day ripping down the city front. I think with Cam, Farah, and maybe Bailey or Mike Christensen. I can't remember who was with us, but we ripped down the city front I remember sitting on the Speedo at like 26 and a half for like 3 or 4 minutes, and you kind of ran out of real estate and was getting near some houses at the end of it. And I remember stopping, and Cam came ripping down, and she was on and on about how that was the best run of her life. And I was thinking the same thing. I was like, it was so cool. It was so just really pin your ears back and go in that flat water. And it was only blowing 12 or 13, but you don't go a whole lot faster once it's more than 13 or 14, because it tends to get choppy and that slows you down. So
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, when I was talking to you earlier, I mentioned I remember lining up with you guys and kind of thinking, oh, okay, everybody's going to go upwind here for a bit, and I want to just do some speed testing. And you guys just bore off and got on those foils, and it was my first time seeing a boat foiling that close, and it was just it was pretty exciting to see you disappear into the horizon.
yeah, they're
So
super fun in that flat water. So
So I want to concentrate on the racing. The first day, what your recollections were. From my point of view, was about 12, 14 offshore, shifting back left and right between the winds, pretty flat water. What was your thinking? Like, it seemed like a tricky course in terms of which side to choose.
yeah, it was one of those things. You really had to watch. I would sort of stand up on the boat with halfway through the starting sequence, maybe 2.5 minutes left, and look up, and you could tell it was coming in, I don't know, roughly 5 minute intervals or something from each side. It almost seemed like, and you just needed to really time it to where it say, hey, what's it going to be right at the start, and what's it going to be, 2-3 minutes into the race? Like, what's the first big shift that you're going to get, and then set yourself up accordingly for that. If it's all pressure, all right, I'd set myself up near the boat, and you might cop it for the first minute. It might be pin favored and light, But if you see that pressure coming down on the right, I would just shift over to the right end of the line and know that, if no race is won at the start, it's always about, if you can get that first shift and take off, then it was quite cool. And I remember that day too was in the water, upwind and the lulls. But when you got enough pressure, it was that, 12, 13 knot puff would come in, and then we can let the boats loose and go upwind foiling. And you start doing, instead of 11 and a half, you start doing 18 knots pretty quick. So that was super, super cool. And just knowing when to make that jump was really key, I think, to just sneaking your nose out a little bit over the guys next to you. So, okay.
So obviously the first race there is you pulled off a bullet. From my perspective, it looked like you had a pretty good lead throughout the whole race. So it was a wire-to-wire win. Now we get into race 2, which things got a little bit interesting. Maybe I'll hear your take on it. What you thought of race 2 when, I guess we could say, the proverbial hit the fan.
Yeah. The Canadian proverbial hit the fan. Yeah, there was a bunch of storm systems around, and the race committee was very active on the radios between those races, and we're maybe going to call it off, maybe not. And somebody had looked at the radar, and I think it's going to pass inland of us. So we start the race. I don't know. I can't remember the exact starting wind. It was probably 12 or 13. Again, not crazy.
Yeah, it's about the same. Yeah.
Pretty black. The beach was straight upwind of the top mark, so you're kind of racing towards home. In hindsight, it would have been great if we had just finished us at the first mark and sent us to the beach, or just called it and sent us home. Got around the first mark, kind of normal racing. Maybe it was 15, got to the bottom mark. Coming up the last beat, I had a nice lead, but as I was coming around, it was getting closer to 20 at the top mark. But you could just see this black wall coming down. It's like, man, if I could wind the clock back, I would have just hauled butt straight to the beach and just called it a day. As I was ripped, so I bore away, but at that point, Larry Woods was relatively close to me. And I kept thinking, he's right behind me somewhere, and I got to keep the hammer down here all the way downwind. So I foiled off on starboard, and I jibed kind of early, thinking, all right, it's getting pretty windy. I'll just run deep here to take it easy and just get to the finish line. And I heard over my radio, which was in my life jacket, I heard them say, the safety boats say, we've got 7 boats down on the offset, send, basically calling all cars, sending everybody up there. And I thought, oh crap. And I glanced back, I'm like, it's already bad. And somebody was going upwind still. I was probably 2/3 of the way down the last run to the finish. And I heard this guy pass me, and I'm ripping downwind, and I'm on the trapeze, and I've got both hulls in the water, all my lift on the dagger boards, but I'm just full safety mode, but I'm hanging on the wire all the way off the back of the boat. And it's probably 22 or something, which kind of sucks in the ACAT at that point. At that point, you're like, I'd rather and I'm going dead downwind. And the guy going upwind, I hear his sail start fluttering that helicopter speed, like bzzz, when you hear the leech of the sail just blow up. And I thought, oh God. And right then I bent my knees to kind of come in, and I got hit by a puff that must've been in mid-30s. And I just totally, because I was going dead downwind, typically if you're flipping over, you have the chance to dive out the back and not fall into the sail. I just was going dead downwind, got smashed by this 35 knot puff or whatever, and just went straight into the sail and broke the rig, and the whole boat come down on top of you and quickly get out from underneath it. And I just thought, crap, I've sailed the boat for 11 years now. I've never broken a mast, and I've flipped more times than I can remember, especially my first year, but I always missed the sail and the mast. But this was one of those weird ones that just I couldn't dodge. So yeah, I was pretty unhappy. So
yeah.
Especially at the beginning of the week. It was day 1. So I thought, oh crap, I'm in trouble. So
okay, well, in part 2 of our conversation, I want to get back to you. We want to hear how your recovery, how you made out from that. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Awesome. Thanks.